Hey guys, I'm Mark,
I'm Alon.
and welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Well, hey man, welcome to another episode of the Next Man Up podcast, where we help fathers guide their sons into manhood, because we believe that when boys become healthy and godly men, everyone benefits. I am Mark Stanifer, and I am joined once again by Alon. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, bro.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, this is always good. Listeners probably think, "Oh, you guys say this all the time," but we really do enjoy being together, having these conversations. And listeners, thank you for being a part of us. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our upcoming workshop.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
we've got this huge workshop coming up on February. How about April 18,
like what?
2020? No, it's not behind us. It's on the horizon. We're going to be doing, once again, our Building a Rite of Passage for Your Son workshop, where you get to come and wrestle with things like, what does it mean to be a man? And how can you take your son on a journey from boyhood to manhood? What does he need? And how can you play that role? By the way, boys don't just become men when they get older. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen automatically. It takes a process. And so we would love for you to join us, and we'll help you through creating a customized rite of passage process for your son. And the cool part about it is Alon's going to be working with the boys that come as well. If your son is between 12 and 16, bring him along. Let him participate in the process, the thinking, the challenge, raising the bar higher for what it means to be a man, and co-creating this initiation process.
Let them get buy-in.
That's right, exactly. So anyway, February. I did it again.
What is with Feb?
I don't know.
Do you like the month of February?
I don't really. I don't in particular. April 18, Saturday, 1 o'clock. Go on out to our new website, our new events page, thenextmanup.com/events. Get the information, get yourself a ticket, get your son a ticket, and we will see you on April 18. So I had a fun experience recently with a dad's group I participate in on Facebook. So I'm in a number, and there's always good conversation and engagement. And I just kind of flip through and see what catches my attention at times. And I came across this post, and it said exactly and only this. So this is it. I'm not cutting anything out. This is all that I got. It said this: does anyone else have a problem putting their foot down when it comes to their wife? Now, what do you hear in that initially when you hear that question?
I don't. I want to back away, like someone just pulled a pin on like 10 grenades and laid them at my feet. Like, I just want to just back away quickly, but yet as softly as possible.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this.
Yeah, man. Like, dude, like, I'm thinking, bro, what if you have to ask that question, you're doing something wrong.
That's funny. It makes me think of a book that I read a while back by Bear Grylls. And he's this adventure guy. If you don't know, just Google Bear Grylls, Grylls. He's wired differently. Mm-hmm. And toward the end of his book, he's like, if you gotta ask, you don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, it's like I think of the picture of is some hard guy just kind of just like looking mean and stern and trying to put his foot on his wife's neck, and she's like going all ninja on him, like, oh no, you did it. It's like, dude, that's just not a war I want to engage in. Right? I don't want to put my foot down on my wife.
Right. No, so we're kind of having a laugh here. And maybe playing out a humorous way to look at this, or like a lethal way to look at this, right? Like, maybe she does have ninja skills, and you just poke the bear. But my guess is there's more to this story for sure, right?
Sure.
And I suspect there's good intent behind the question, even though it's like
hope.
it's like this two-dimensional question, right? There's no emotion here, there's no context, there's no facial expression.
No.
The limitations of electronic media or communication. But let's assume for a moment, and I think it's a good assumption, let's assume for a moment that there's good intent behind the question.
That's fair.
When you come at it from that perspective, what do you start to think about then as you process the question as it was stated?
Well, because we don't know the scenario, and we're trying to give the person who posted that question, a starting point of good intent, then I have to see that maybe something's going on that needs to be talked through. When it comes to that gentleman and his spouse.
Yeah.
Like something's going on where they're just not meeting. They're not connecting. They're just, I don't even know how, the words to say. They're just not coming to a place where they're understanding each other and they're understanding where they want their family to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a disconnect. There's the word.
A disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a disconnect there, and and there has to be a conversation.
So providing for good intent, assuming good intentions, or assuming the best here. What I hear is potentially a desire to be a good leader or to be a good guide at home, right?
Yeah.
Like. Again, giving the best of intent.
I don't want to dishonor my wife. I want to do this together, but I'm seeing something off, and I need to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how you went immediately to communication.
Yeah.
Because none of this gets solved, back to kind of how we started, none of this gets solved in a healthy and beneficial way when it's one person or the other putting their foot down and saying, this is the way it's going to be. Like that just doesn't work out well. It's not, as you like to say, it's not a way to help people flourish.
I am not the greatest diplomat. I never owned a job of diplomacy. But I would say that if you want to end peace talks, tell somebody that they don't have a choice in what is about to happen, and that this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Now, maybe in some contexts, like the military, that's how things get done.
Sure,
but at home,
not in a supposed to be loving, caring relationship, where two people have locked themselves together for the rest of their lives.
And if that works, then maybe it says something toward the dysfunction of the relationship.
Yeah,
right.
Man.
There's a better, bigger, deeper way to relate and be intimate with your spouse.
Sure.
Than just saying this is the way it's going to be.
And I've the idea of I just do what she tells me to do, or I just do what he tells me to do, that it seems outlandish, but on the flip side of that, I get that there's relationships where one person may be more of the thinker, the other person may be more of a feeler. It's like I get that, but I'm not quite sure this is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? I think this is the idea that we're just saying one person dominates and says this is how it's going to be, and you just roll with it.
Yeah,
and there's some dysfunction in that.
That's right. One of the other thoughts I had, just wondering, what is really going on in this scenario and behind the scenes. One of the thoughts I had is maybe this is a way to ask a question around, well, what does it really mean to lead and to lead well? Does it mean that I gotta put my foot down and okay, well, what does that look like? What does that even mean? But maybe the asker here is really wrestling with, what does it look like to lead well, and how do I do that?
You know, when I think about leading, I think about someone who is being an example of something or a way of life that other people go, I want to follow that. And in the process, there's also a sense of like, I want to honor the people around me. So you're an example that you're an example that is influencing others, that they're saying, I want to follow you. And in the midst of that, what is also being caught is that you definitely are a person who is worth following because you honor those around you. You know what I mean? And I think as husbands, like we need to walk those two things out. Like you can't come, I can't go to my wife and say, look, I have a problem with you doing this if I'm not being an example of how to do it well. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Like if I can't go to my wife and say, stop spending money when I'm over here spending money like it ain't nothing either. You know what I mean? I can't say to my wife, like, you know, like, babe, it just seems that you don't take care of yourself. You're going to bed at like all hours of the night, and you're like just laying around, and you're like it just seems like you're just jacking yourself up. And then I'm turning around and doing the same thing.
That's right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's right.
Like, that's not an example. And at the same time, I can be an example, but yet if the way I'm approaching my wife with something that I feel that may be off is an honoring of her, like is not if it's putting her down or making her feel like ashamed, or I'm purposely shaming her, or the words that I'm using and the way that the tact of how I'm like presenting the problem is shaming her, then like I'm not honoring her. You know, and that comes across, I think, in the way that we communicate. I just like, you know, with issues that I've seen as going on in our family and in our marriage, the ones that work out the best is when I go, you know what, this is really tough for me to say, and I want to love you well, or I want our family to be loved well when it comes from my point. Like I want to make sure that you understand that everything I'm saying right now is because I want to honor you. And here it is. Like, because I love you, I need to say this. You know, like, I think that the way that we're spending money right now is going to destroy us. Like, I don't see us surviving, and I want us to survive, and I want us to not only survive, but thrive for the future. I want us to go on nice family trips. I want us to have good things. I don't want it to be that when something happens with the car, we don't have money to fix it. I want my kids to do this, that, and this. And to do that, we have to spend money well. And it just seems that, like, we're not. And I say we because we're a team. We're one. And if one of us isn't doing something well, that means both of us aren't doing something well. So how do we fix this?
Yeah. How
do we combine our efforts and make sure that our finances are great so that we can live the life that we want to be when it comes to financial like standpoint in our lives? Like, how do we do that, babe? You know, that's different than, look, woman, you're going to put that car down and you're going to stop spending money. Why? Because I said so.
Right. Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right. No, I know that your spouse is not sitting across from you, and you're not literally talking to her, but I like the tone in your voice. I like the grace and the mercy. I like the we versus you type of language.
Yeah.
And I like the sense that, look, we're in this together for something bigger, and what we've got right now, it's not working. It's not getting us there. So how can we work together to figure this out? Yeah. Like, that's a completely different conversation, a different tone, right? Than the you language. Out comes my finger. I didn't even mean to do that, but
it comes out, right?
That's right. Pointing, the you statements and like that, just in relationship, in disagreement and working through things, there's just a better way. That doesn't work well.
And part of that, Mark, is like, I think that we as as men, if you're going through this situation, not just this particular situation, but you're in conflict, you see a conflict that needs to be resolved in your family, it's in your marriage, especially since we were talking about this post. Like, look, you have to be able to come up with to see the problem and come up with a solution without playing the blame game. Like, I think the blame game gets us in trouble a lot.
Yep.
I mean, you think about it, it's like once you start the blame game, the other person joins in the play too.
Oh, that's right.
And they start blaming as well. But you did, and you could do that for hours,
in
days,
an intimate
years.
Marriage relationship, there's plenty of ammunition on both sides.
And what does that do? That's just like we're just stabbing each other with words and scenarios, and we wonder why like our marriage sucks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's in shambles. It's because we're hurting each other, playing a blame game. But I think that when we stop and we put down the blame and we just go, there's a problem. How do we solve this together? How do we lock arms? How do I love you and you love me? How do we love our family well? By bringing up a solution that propels us into the success story of our lives. Like, how do we do that, babe?
Yep.
I'm willing to do it. Are you? Like, yes? Okay, let's do it. You know, that's a whole different approach.
Yeah, no doubt. So there's another angle that I was thinking, just reflecting on this question. And, and you may not be able to relate to it, but in my church background and in my religious upbringing, there was often this maybe misunderstood mandate in reading through the pages of the Bible and the responsibility that falls onto the husband or to the man in the family that, well, I am head of household.
Yes.
Even as I say that, it's like I go into caveman language. Head of household, hear me roar. Right? Like it often got presented as, if there's a disagreement, then as head of household, my way wins. And I have the responsibility, and it's biblically mandated, and it's my authority from God. Like, you know what I'm talking about,
I know
right?
exactly what you're talking about.
And again, I don't know that this is that situation, but I can see somebody reading this and thinking about it from that mindset. Well, it's obvious. God has given us as husbands the mandate to be head of household and to lead. And so if there's a disagreement, then put your foot down because it's your God responsibility.
My vote trumps everyone else's.
Right. And while that may still be the responsibility that the husband plays in the family, that doesn't mean that everything that we've just been talking about in terms of the method and the approach gets thrown out the window, and you just literally put your foot down and say, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you are one that has that theology. And such, if that's the point that you're going to come from, that you are the man in the household and that you are called to be the appointed leader of your marriage, of your family, okay, cool, that's yours. But you still need to act like Christ. Mm-hmm. And, when I read the Gospels, it wasn't that like God was like, okay, we need to fix things on this earth. These stinking humans, they've just jacked everything up. All right, Jesus, hop on your horse. Take Michael, the archangel,
and a few others.
You go down there with two swords in each hand and just murder them all. Yep. They either come along, right? They either come along with what I got, or they're dead meat. Like, that's not what happened. Yeah, Jesus came in the most humble way. He came in a way that can connect with all through being born as a human and living out this life as a human, though fully God, fully man. I know we could argue about that, but there's some other stuff. But the idea was he was like came down. He was with us. He walked with us. He cried, he laughed, he experienced humanity, and he showed us how to live life with the Father. You know what I mean? There was a sense of like, there's something wrong, and I want to be an example, like I was talking about earlier. I want to be an example to you, and I want to lead you and influence you towards the Father. here it is how I'm going to do it. Do you see that there's something wrong? Cool. Then come follow me to something better.
Yep.
You know, there was no foot down in that moment. And so even if you do take that stance of I am the head of the household, I am the appointed leader as the man in this relationship, okay, that's yours, but you got to see that still doesn't mean that you rule with an iron fist. No, you rule with a heart of love and compassion, humility. You are an example of Christ. Like if that's not what you see in the mirror, or if that's not what your wife is telling you that she is seeing, then there's got to be a problem, and you got to fix it.
Yeah. My mind goes to a much less sacred and sanctified thought. It's like, well, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And we kind of joke around our family with that because one of my kids is just very, he's very focused on, well, this is the right thing in this situation. This is the right thing. And often he's correct, at least from my perspective. He's always correct from his own perspective. But often he's correct. But in that adamant, in that almost, not so much him always, but it could lead to a belligerent type of approach. Do you want to be right? Or are you willing to set some of that aside so that you can be in more relationship? Or here's a better way to say it, that you can pursue the heart and pursue the relationship versus the rightness, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep. It's you know, it's the judge who goes, you know what? You committed this act. And by all accounts, by law, you should be thrown away in jail. But I see you as a person, and I want to help you. I want to help you achieve. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of throwing you away in jail, we're going to put you in a program that helps you like heal from the craziness of your life. And you're going to have to do some community service work. Yeah, I'm going to have you go and clean up our streets. I'm going to have you be a big brother to some kid who really needs it and help you give back to society. That whole mindset is totally different. You're right. It wins the heart.
Yes.
You know, and it just doesn't destroy the whole person.
Yes.
You know. That's how I see it.
And of course, you're not advocating that husbands throw their wives in jail and like
no,
that's even an option.
But we kind of do though when we're just like, you know, this is the way it's going to be. You cut her off from like flourishing into all that she is supposed to be. You know what I mean? You do put her in prison in her mind and in her heart. You tie her hands together when you come from that approach, and that's not loving. That's not honoring. That's not even justice. Like that's horrible. That's horrible. You know. So
no, it's good, right? Because it really, even just thinking about this simple question causes us to reflect on motive. And motivation and intent.
Yes, yeah.
You know, is the intent to pursue the heart, to win the relationship? Because you could argue very easily that was Jesus's intent. That's been the Father's intent from the beginning. Go all the way back to the first pages, right? I want their hearts. I want intimate relationship with them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been given choice in the matter. We would have just been assigned a responsibility and, sir, yes, sir. We're given choice in the matter because he wants to win the heart. Jesus came to win our hearts. And as husbands, we have that opportunity to win and pursue the hearts of our wives as well as our kids, right? Like if you have kids, if you're in this situation of conflict and you have kids looking on, what are they learning?
Yeah, right.
Dad's got to be right, or dad's about the heart and about intimacy and relationship, and he's willing to serve, he's willing to honor, pursues communication to resolve some of these disconnects versus just a punitive or reactive type of response.
And it's not that dad is perfect. It's just that, man, that seems more appealing. That's that's the person I can model life after.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
You know, it's thinking, we were talking about this with another person before the podcast has got started and such, and just talking with this friend and whatnot. You know, he brought up a good point. What if like a scenario like that, like you've had those conversations and you've pursued the heart? What do you do then? You know, like
That's a
like, you know,
yes.
and so 'cause if we're gonna actually take it that the person who posted this has good intent and is just trying to figure out how to work through conflict without just putting his foot down with his wife, how about if he's had these heart to hearts with his spouse? Like, what do you do then?
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
It is a hard one. And look, I don't have the answer. I haven't walked in that situation. And I don't have an easy answer, but my mind goes to the Old Testament and the story of the prophet Hosea and the responsibility that he was given to care for his wife. I believe her name was Gomer, although I could be wrong there. Anyway, it doesn't so much matter. His wife left him on numerous occasions. She just left. And he still pursued her. And what I hear in that scenario that's maybe relevant in this context is it wasn't working out despite his best attempts. He was willing to let love go, or to let go of that thing that he was loving as best as he could and continue to pursue, even though she continued to exercise a choice that was against or contrary to what he wanted. Like, I know this is not a Disney, it all gets wrapped up and tied with a bow Hallmark movie, right? But what I'm hearing in that story and in this question is the ability to continue to lean in, to pursue that relationship, but also to be able to let go, rather than constrict and try to control, which might be the intent. I shouldn't say that the intent might be a natural reaction to try to control the situation. But like, look at all the times that people turn their back on Jesus. And what did he do?
Still.
He just let him go and he loved him anyway.
Yep,
right?
Still.
Like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
You know, I've not walked in those shoes, but I'm challenging myself. How do I do that?
Yeah.
Am I capable of loving like that to the point where I'm willing to let go and give that other person space to go in the direction, in this case, you know, that she would want to go? And that's a hard one.
Yeah, man. That is a tough one.
Might need an expert for.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, because I mean, there's things like, you know, there's questions that pop up in my mind. Well, you know, like, have you brought other people that you both look up to,
willing to let another voice into the,
like, you know, voices that you trust and you honor and you feel safe, that you feel that those voices are safe in your lives. Like, have they chimed in? Counseling. Like, is there some counseling that is like taking place? Are you both willing to go to counseling to work through these situations and conflicts? You know, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, it's not the end for those who are listening or maybe going into something like this. And you're like, nah, dude, I've done all that. I've pursued the heart. You know, I think that's part of the pursuing that you're talking about.
Yep.
Like, there's a sense of, like, I'm just going to keep doing everything that I can to be that example, to lead well, and to honor my spouse, and to see her, like, flourish and do well in life, you know, and that life is connected to mine. We're together in marriage. Like, I want to see us both do well as one. And so how do we do that? I think that's the pursuing. That's part of the pursuing that you're talking about, Mark. And, you know, when it comes to a place where, like, you know, you've done all that, even, like, what do you do? Friends, I don't know. But there's something about the not the chase. There's something about, like, looking to see the best happen. Like, for the other, that is something beautiful, and is heartfelt. You know, before Shannon and I came together. I remember this one pastor, he was like, Alon, just imagine the worst thing you'd want someone to do to you. Like, imagine it. That you wouldn't want someone to do to you. And he was like, if Shannon did that to you, would you still stay with her?
Wow.
And I remember, like, I sat there with my mouth open, like, I couldn't answer him for a while.
It's a big question.
I had to go home and think about that one for a while, you know. And like now, it's like I'm in that mindset of, nah. Even if you're doing stuff to hurt us, I'm still gonna pursue you into the right direction. I'm still gonna run after you and love you in the right direction. But I had to think about it. And for me, I got into a place like, I'm in this for better or for worse. You know, that statement means something to me.
Yep.
I'm in it for better or for worse. And if this is the worst, then this is what I said I'm going to do.
Yep.
You know, it's hard. It's really hard. Tough. I don't have the answer for that, but that's the mindset that I have.
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. So, guys, what are you taking away from the conversation here? I don't know how if you've made it to this point, the question from this Facebook post has intrigued you, or maybe you were curious about where we would go with it, but you've made it to this point. You're reflecting on everything that's been said. What do you do? Maybe you're in this type of situation now and you're looking for ways to navigate through conflict. Maybe this is just a good reminder that when that next conflict comes, you're going to pursue the heart and pursue the relationship rather than pursue discipline or pursue making the decision that needs to be made. Right? It's funny. Even my voice changes when I say that. But what are you taking away? How do you see your role in these types of situations such that you can do the best to help your wife flourish and grow and become who she is supposed to become, and model this, if you have children around, model this for what a good, healthy marriage looks like for them. So anyway, just some things to think about, challenges for you to take away, not just let this be an entertaining conversation, but actually something that causes you to choose and to live different. That's the goal.
Agreed.
Dude, thanks again.
Dude, thank you, man. I hope I didn't bring everybody down on the end of that, but it is something that you have to think about.
Yeah, it is. It's all about it's choosing to love.
Yeah.
It's choosing to love and to love first and to love well.
Yeah.
And against those things, there is no law.
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So, all right, let's call it there. Listeners, thanks for hanging with us. We will see you next time. Adios.
Adios.
Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. You know, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.